What up, sports fans? Waxon Wednesday. Jake Waxman, Tyler Level, let two guys talk sports. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to start with the Purdue Boilermakers, or Purdue men's basketball. They got a huge W on the road yesterday against the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this significant? Last year, Indiana had Purdue's number. Despite the fact that the Boilermakers won the Big Ten title in men's basketball last year, Indiana swept them. And in both cases, they frustrated the hell out of Purdue and forced them into bad decisions and turnovers, which ended up passing along like a blueprint on how to beat the Boilermakers. They showed everybody else. You could say they were one of those teams that showed everybody outside the conference how to beat Purdue. And one of the things that I've noticed about Purdue in the past, when you are able to frustrate Purdue, they start to panic, and then they make bad decisions, turnovers, bad shots, all that stuff. But in this game, Purdue dominated this game, all right? The outcome was never in doubt. Purdue won the game, and they controlled the game at Assembly Hall. But when things got close, like when Indiana closed it to within 9, the Boilermakers did not panic all that much. They actually kept their focus. They kept their cool. Fletcher Lawyer said it best. They didn't panic. Got the ball to Edey when they needed to, and were able to. And when the lead got down to 9, around that halfway mark of the second period, Purdue was able to get back in their rhythm. They focused, made smart decisions, didn't panic. Got the ball to Edey, as I mentioned before, and when they did all those things, and they were able to stretch that lead back out, and within 9 points was as close as the Indiana Hoosiers got. Now, I will say this: Purdue was expected to win that game, but road games at IU are always tough. Assembly Hall, it always gets so loud. And granted, this Indiana team was not the same as last year's Indiana team, which had Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson and Jalen Hood-Schifino, who is now in the NBA, and hope he's doing well. But he was fantastic in his lone season in the Big Ten. So Indiana was really missing those guys, and they had a much younger team. So Purdue was expected to win, but nothing's a guarantee, of course, in college basketball. And there was a time where it looked like it was going to get close, but Purdue kept its wits, kept their focus, stuck with the game plan, and because of that, the outcome at IU was never in doubt. Purdue was able to get another win over they were able to get a little bit of revenge from last season after getting swept from IU and beat Indiana at their place and stay focused in the process and control the game. And that's what's going to be key for the Boilermakers going forward, okay? Keeping calm, not panicking, still sticking to the game plan. Don't turn the ball over. Feed Zach Edey. It's simple as that. And rely on the shooters. And, of course, Purdue's three-point shooting this year has been much improved from last season. So that's going to help a lot. So as long as Purdue could do the things it did at Indiana, they will be tougher to beat in the Big Ten and perhaps in March too. Now, whether or not they make a run in March, we will still see. It's still a lot of basketball to play, but I saw a lot of encouraging things for the Boilermakers against the Indiana Hoosiers. Most importantly, the fact that they did not lose control. They kept their focus and just stuck to the game plan. And that's what's going to be critical for the Boilermakers going forward. Of course, always feels good to beat your biggest rival, so feels good to beat Indiana. But the more important thing, but I was just saying, in addition to beating Indiana, the way that Purdue did it was just as crucial, as I mentioned. All the things, like staying focused and sticking with the game plan. And not panicking, for goodness sake. Don't force things. That's what Purdue did in this game against Indiana. They need to carry over to the next game and beyond that. They'll be in Iowa City this weekend to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes at their place too. All right, so good win for the Boilermakers over Indiana, but let's see if they can keep up that momentum, and it all depends on the lessons that they take with them from this game and carry forward. Okay, let's get to some NFL talk. All right, this wildcard weekend was, another wild one. So I'll start with Cleveland and Houston. All right, props to Cleveland. They got as far as they did with being injured to hell. They lost a lot of their starters, and they were able to still get an 11-6 record and get in the postseason as a wild card. It's just, unfortunately, the magic ran out there, and Joe Flacco crashed back to earth against a surprising Houston Texans team. He threw 2 pick sixes in that game, and that doomed Cleveland to a one and done in the playoffs. But I will say this, props to Houston and massive props to CJ Stroud. This kid has he's got a bright future in the NFL. I think he's on his way to becoming a terrific quarterback. Or if he isn't already terrific, he is on his way to doing great things. Just got to keep going. He's got another game this week, and a tough one. So, mad respect for CJ Stroud. And, of course, in terms of the other games, and then there was the Kansas City and the Miami Dolphins game. I didn't see that one because Peacock, of course. But, the season ended pretty much predictably as I thought it would for the Dolphins. They were really starting to slide, much like the Eagles, and they hadn't beaten anyone good all year. And so, no surprise that they didn't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, the temperatures, it's cold there. And Dolphins, they don't do well in the cold. So, hopefully, we'll see where the Dolphins go from here. But there's some questions about Tua Tagovailoa. And unfortunately, there may be some questions about Mike McDaniel. I think he's a good coach, but how good of a coach? We'll see. And can Tua really be an elite quarterback at the NFL level? It's got to beat the best to be elite. It's simple as that. So we'll see what Miami does in the offseason. And then, of course, in the other games, I will say, and then, Detroit fans, no hate from me. Congrats to you guys on your first playoff win since 1991. Well deserved. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And hey, what's better than one home playoff game? You get another one this week in the divisional round. That's the reward for winning in the wildcard weekend and amongst a few other things. But hey, the Lions, they were ready to play. The fans were ready to rock and roll. They had a dogfight. I thought this game with the Rams was going to be a dogfight, and that's what it was. But when it mattered, Detroit's defense stepped up and made plays and bent, but didn't break in the second half, especially in the red zone, holding the Rams to field goal attempts. And the result was a 1-point game. And Jared Goff coming up clutch, especially throwing for first down to Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was a huge play. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, they are no slouch. Those are some great players. And Goff, I think, has earned the respect of Detroit fans, if he didn't already. But once again, Detroit, congratulations. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now it's time for you to get ready for another one. Let's see if they can get to that NFC Championship game. Which, by the way, the last time they won a playoff game, they were also in the NFC Championship that same postseason. So, maybe history's repeating itself for once for Detroit. But the fans came out rocking, and you know what? They deserved this moment. So, kudos to the Lions. And being a Bears fan, cheers to you, Detroit. All right. And then, of course, now, before I get to Dallas and Philadelphia, I'm just going to say, we'll start with Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Buffalo, all right, they're looking strong. They're injured as well, but they're playing with all heart right now, and it's good to see. They are playing with heart, especially Josh Allen. He is willing that team to victory, and I think that they've got some mojo their way. They look like a team that was pretty much doomed to sink without a postseason berth, but hey, they got the AFC East and are proving that they've earned it. And granted, they did play Pittsburgh, but I think this Buffalo team, I think they are looking mighty strong, and I think they definitely have some momentum. And as for Pittsburgh, all right, let's just be honest. Pittsburgh, go back home to the Steel City. You didn't belong in the postseason. That's right. Pittsburgh, in my opinion, should not have been in the postseason. They didn't deserve to be there. They had things go their way that allowed them to get in once more. And is it surprising that Buffalo beat them? Not at all. And now so there's questions about whether or not Mike Tomlin will return to the Steelers, and they're going to have to solve this quarterback situation. They started Mason Rudolph over Kenny Pickett because they thought Rudolph was playing better. And while he did play his heart out a bit at points, hey, You can't mess around too much and find out. And Pittsburgh messed around too much early, and they found themselves chasing the game. And hey, don't tell me about Steelers fans and Steelers. Don't give others grief about the bad calls or the refs. You know what? The refs have given you breaks in the past. Don't forget that. So, yeah, as you can tell, I'm not a Steelers fan, and yes, I am pleased to see them eliminated. It's not one of those teams I just get tired of. I want teams that have earned. I want teams that deserve to be in the playoffs, not ones who get lucky because teams like the Colts and the Jaguars choke it in the worst moments possible. All right, but enough of that. Now we get to talk about Dallas and Philly. Oh my God. Okay, Dallas. I didn't expect you to win the Super Bowl. I thought you might be. I had you beating Green Bay, but I didn't think this would be a team that win the Super Bowl. But my goodness, what the hell was that? The Cowboys, they didn't just lose to the Green Bay Packers. They got their asses kicked in their own home. Literally, Green Bay stormed into Dallas's home and just beat the crap out of them. The contest was never in doubt, and here we go again. This kills me as a Bears fan because now we got to deal with Green Bay being good. Once again, they got a new quarterback, and now this quarterback is good. And I'll give some props to Jordan Love. He's way better than I expected. He's making me eat crow because I didn't think he was going to be good. But my goodness, I just don't like it. You guys know I cannot stand, for the love of my life, I cannot stand the Green Bay Packers. And here we are again. Another Packers team that has a chance to do some damage. And as for Dallas, every year, Cowboys fans say it's their year. And every year, the story ends the same. Disappointment for Cowboys Nation. But happiness for the rest of America. So, question, you know what? We got to have more honest conversations about whether or not Mike McCarthy can lead this team to a championship and whether or not Dak Prescott can lead this team to a championship. And for the record, I like Dak Prescott. He's a hard worker. He's got all heart. But right now, but for the years he's been the Cowboys quarterback, he is not getting the job done. He's only got 2 playoff wins, and record speaks for itself. So, got a decision to make, and probably, without a doubt, the Cowboys losing like the way they did, most embarrassing moment of the playoffs, if you ask me. And then there's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Bucks. First of all, congrats to the Bucks, and well deserved. They made a charge the last few weeks, and they won the NFC South and did what they had to do against the Eagles. And Baker Mayfield, in terms of football, has found the second lease on life and is looking pretty good. This was a Buccaneers team that we didn't expect to do much, but here we are. They're now in the second round of the playoffs because they've taken care of business and maybe not played their best, but they have played very good football. Very good Buccaneers football. And then there's the Eagles. My goodness. What happened to this team? There was a time where I thought the Eagles looked like the favorites to win the Super Bowl this season. But they've lost 6 of their last 7, including this postseason game against the Buccaneers. And you know what? They just did not, in this game, they did not look like they were in the game at all. They didn't look like they'd shown up. From the very start of this wildcard game, they looked defeated. There was a negative vibe in there. And the only thing I can think of that set the Eagles on this downward spiral was that change in defensive coordinator that Nick Sirianni made. He pulled the other guy aside and put in, I can't remember their coordinator's name, their former coordinator's name. So he took that guy out and then he puts in Matt Patricia. Like, what? Eagles, what are you doing? That was a huge overreaction. By the way, I think that was after maybe their second or third. I can't remember for sure, but massive overreaction by the Eagles, and it sunk the team. It sunk their morale. That's the only thing I can think of. And Matt Patricia, let's just be real. Matt Patricia is not qualified to be an NFL head coach, let alone an NFL caliber defensive coordinator. I'm sorry. I know the guy works hard, but his defenses give up way too many yards and points. Even when he was in New England, those defenses were bad. Why Why Philly handed the keys to the defense to him is beyond me. That was a really bad decision. Do people not learn about how Patricia did in New England? Like, he was not good in New England. That was all Belichick. Of course, the fault is not the defenses alone, as the offense also took strides backwards too. And, I was going to say, Jalen Hurts did not look good these last few weeks. Like, he did not look like his usual self these last few weeks. And now there may be some questions about whether or not he's as good as advertised. I think he'll bounce back next year, but I guess we'll see if the Eagles can bounce back. Because right now, this year may have been your last shot to get back to the Super Bowl before salary cap hits in, and then other things like free agency. And also, from what I understand, Jason Kelce has not officially announced his retirement yet, but rumor on the block is he's probably going to retire. Whether or not he does, that's up to him. But the Eagles will have a lot of rebuilding to do on that offensive line if Jason Kelce does indeed decide to retire. And if he does, 13 years, man. Congrats on a 13-year career then, Jason, and Canton will be calling. All right. Okay. Now on to the final part of this video. We're going predictions now. It's time to get to the predictions. And I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert. I predict all 4 home teams will win this weekend. So I'll start with the AFC side. Excuse me. Sorry, my throat's getting a little stuffy. AFC side of things. Baltimore and Houston. Houston. Okay. So, again, CJ Stroud, no matter how this game goes, CJ Stroud deserves respect. He absolutely deserves it. He has done a magnificent job in his rookie season as the Houston quarterback. But unfortunately, Houston, in my opinion, does not have the firepower to match Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and Coach John Harbaugh. So, but I do think this game's going to be much, much closer than expected. I'm going to go Baltimore by a score of 34-31 over the Houston Texans. It's going to be that close. And then the other game, this is the good one. This is the one everybody's looking for. Another matchup between Josh Allen and the Bills and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now, one thing that could play a factor into this game is the Bills are injured. They got lots of injuries, but like I said, they're playing with a lot of heart. Mahomes and the Chiefs, of course, could they be primed despite the lack of a wide receiver core? They may be primed and ready again for another run. I think they're done messing around. But with that said, Buffalo's got the home field advantage, and I think this is their time. I think this is their time to overcome Mahomes and the Chiefs and win. I think we're going to have plenty of offense, and I'm going to go with the score. This is tough. I'm going to go with, and I think both defenses are tough, but I am going to go with a score of 35-28 in favor of the Buffalo Bills. So, Bills win by 7. And then, actually, I'm going to change one thing. 35-31 in favor of the Bills. I think we'll go with a 4-point Bills victory. There'll be a field goal attempt in there at the very least. Okay. And finally, the NFC side of things. We got the Niners and the Packers. All right, Packers, it hurts me to say this, but they look dangerous. And they are playing some of their best football. And I think they will make it a contest with the 49ers. Hate to say that. But with that being said, the 49ers are not the Cowboys. Compared to the Cowboys, they're a juggernaut. They are loaded with talent. And they'll be well rested. And while I do think Green Bay makes this close in the score to be seen, I think, or closer than the score indicates, I think that San Francisco is going to be just too much for Jordan Love in Green Bay. And for the record, let's not forget, San Francisco has San Francisco has had Green Bay's number in the past. So, I mentioned Jordan Love. He's inherited the Packers' ownership of the Bears and the Cowboys. Maybe now he'll get to feel the pain of the Niners' ownership of the Green Bay Packers. He's a good Love's a good quarterback. Future's bright for him. But I think the 49ers are just going to be too much for the Green Bay Packers. I am going to go with a score of 34-24 in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. And finally, we got the Lions and the Buccaneers. I tell you what, the Buccaneers have overperformed this season, especially in the end. And hey, they deserve to be here. They've overperformed. And Baker Mayfield is playing some great football. But so too are the Lions, even in the closest game. Now, last week was not the prettiest game for the Lions, but they played well enough and won the game handily. And the outcome of that game was never in doubt, thanks to that defense, too, and Goff's bravery, as well as Coach Campbell's bravery. Now, with that said, Tampa, you've had a good, solid run without Tom Brady. You've overachieved. But sadly, I think the Buccaneers are in for a rude awakening in this game. I just think that the Lions are going to have too much firepower for the Bucs to really hang with them. So I am going to go with a score of 37-21 in favor of the Detroit Lions. So to recap, I believe AFC Championship will be between the Ravens and the Bills, and I've got the NFC Championship between the 49ers and the Detroit Lions. Those are my predictions for the Divisional round this weekend. I went 4-2 in my predictions for wildcard weekend. We'll see how I do. All right, on to this day in sports history, and on this day, the 17th of January in the year 1971, Super Bowl V, also, by the way, known as the Blooper Bowl, in Miami's Orange Bowl. The Baltimore Colts defeat the Dallas Cowboys 16-13 in a mistake-filled game by both sides. So the Colts won the Super Bowl, but how this? Dallas linebacker Chuck Howley is named the game's most valuable player. I think it's the only time in Super Bowl history where a player from the losing team was named the most valuable player. All right, sports fans, that is all I got for this week's Waxon Wednesday. Oh, by the way, I just want to give you guys a special announcement. This week, I'm going to do something. There will be a video on Friday, but it's going to be something different. I've seen Tyler do a few different things. This is, after all, two guys talk sports and other things. So here's me trying something different. I'm going to post a video, or try to post a video on Friday. And this video will focus on aviation. So for this week, Waxman talks aviation. I'll be shooting for Friday to launch this video. Alright, sports fans, so that's my special announcement for this video. So I'm going to try to upload a video on Friday, and I'll be talking about aviation news to start 2024. Okay, that's all. But in terms of sports, that's all I got for this week. Enjoy the football this weekend, everyone. Thanks for watching. Jake Waxman from Two Guys Talk Sports, signing off.